Hi everyone, welcome back to Edu Kingdom College. My name's Celine and we'll be going through a selective high school trial test, power reading test 15. So, firstly, I'd like you guys to read this extract in your own time. This is a more interesting extract because we've never really looked at an interview. Just an important thing to note, specifically by this, very first sentence, the following is an interview conducted by Elizabeth Halley, meaning that Elizabeth Halley or Halley is the interviewer. Okay, and the person that Halley is interviewing is Paul Murphy. Okay, so although Halley is interviewing Murphy, Murphy is actually being asked about one of his shows or his program called PM. Okay, current affairs program called PM. So Murphy does conduct their own interviews, but at the moment, Halley is the one interviewing Murphy. Okay, so just looking at the first question from this interview extract, Paul Murphy could be best described as A, B, or C, or D. So, firstly, I just wanted to define these words. If you've been watching our previous videos, you guys should know that vocabulary is something that we should be watching out for. So, for a committed presenter. Okay, committed, I changed that word to consistent. Okay, when you commit to something, and when somebody is committed, that means that they show up. Okay, they say you wake up every day at 7 a.m., then every single day from Monday to Sunday, you are waking up at 7 a.m., not just on your school days, for example. Okay, you're incredibly committed. Okay, for B, an opinionated presenter. Okay, this could be someone that is very strong-minded. Okay, they're very grounded, and they're I guess on their stance, they kind of know like their answer or their opinion, and they won't let anyone budge it, which is why I also put in stubborn, because sometimes this can be bad. Sometimes this can be also really rude. And yeah, so then for C, intolerant, I put in as someone that has very little patience. Okay, they want their answer or whatever they want now, and like they're kind of like rushing it. So if it's not now, then they kind of like they don't want it, like they want it immediately. Okay, now for also they might not they won't take any like disrespect, or like if they don't get what they want, like they're not gonna take that, like they are getting what they want. Okay, in terms of C, intolerant. And then for D, nonchalant basically means like you don't care, like apathetic, kind of lax, maybe like if it goes it goes, if it doesn't it doesn't, very like, oh, it is what it is mindset. Okay, so when we're looking at question 1, I actually want to point out what Murphy has said. So I would probably say here and here is probably the best. Like I think you can also take it from the last part that Murphy says things, but I really like these two in particular. Okay, so when he says, oh, you give reports and conduct comments on interviews, he starts saying like statistics, right? He also says here, you're a presenter that is reliable. Okay, your audience might only listen to you once a week or twice a week, but they know you are there. Okay, so here we kind of see that Murphy views his job as something that needs to be consistent. Okay, he has to do it, right? Even if people aren't watching and listening to him 24/7, they know him for that brief moment in time, for that 20-minute or so episode or podcast, right? Also in the second part, this one, I make a point of never being sick. Okay, I've always been there. So that kind of shows that he's just always at his job, like he sees it as a commitment, right? Which is actually why I would say that 1A is the answer. Okay, B should not be the answer, because in this case, like Murphy should be showing like multiple views, multiple strong views, but he actually doesn't really show that. He does kind of show it in the last part, where he said mainly it's an annoyance, right? But it's not. It's like a dismissive kind of tone, right? He doesn't really care too much for it. Okay. Now for C, an intolerant presenter. Okay. Murphy actually seems to be quite patient with Hallie, and Murphy also seems as if he's more focused on his performance at his job rather than consistently getting what he wants. He seems to be someone that's very open-minded and wants to communicate with his audience, right? And having that communication means that you do need to build up a level of patience and like trust, right? And he doesn't seem to be rushing them. He seems like a little annoyed at them sometimes, but not so much that he is incredibly impatient and like rushing them. So I wouldn't say it's C. D, a nonchalant presenter. I don't believe this to be the case at all. He has been basically rambling about his job for so long in this interview, and he's saying that he wants to be reliable, he wants to be there, he he likes his job. So it just doesn't make sense logically for someone to be so passionate about their job and then not care about it. They're complete polar opposites. Okay, so answer should be 1A. Now for question 2, what does the expression "that's death professionally" mean? So we have A, B, C, or D, right? So let's take a look at that sentence and maybe the sentence a bit before and after. So here, it's all about the gathering process. Often you feel you want to cut yourself off, but that's death professionally. You can't. You have to know what people think and feel, even if you profoundly disagree with them. Okay, so here he's actually talking about getting some opinions from the public or his audience, right? And he's saying that, you might disagree with it, but it's something that you have to accept, and if you don't accept it, if you're not respectful of other people's views, then you're basically doing career suicide. Okay, so when he says that's death professionally, he's saying that the hallmark of being a presenter is having that accepting and understanding nature. So to have an attitude that's very deflective and dismissive of how your audience feels, you might as well not be a presenter. So he's saying that, well, I would be ending my career if I just didn't listen to my audience, to what they said, okay? Or if I just wasn't open to what they said, or if I just didn't do my job, basically. So that's why it should be C, okay? Yes, that's really the only explanation we can take a look at there. Question 3, what does Paul Murphy infer when he claims, I make a point of never being sick? So A, B, and C once again. Okay, let's take a look at that sentence. Okay, let's start from the sentence before and then after that. So, can someone else stand in for you if you are sick? I make a point of never being sick. I've always been there, and that's the way you can build up an audience. Okay, so here he's trying to say that he makes this point of never being sick. He makes like an argument that he's always going to show up, right? Whereas when Hallie was like, oh, can't someone else do it? He's saying like, no, like it's me, like only I can do it, right? Some people might choose to maybe like not turn up for their jobs, but that's not me. Like I'm someone that's very dedicated. Okay, I've always been there. Okay, he wants to make that audience. But not just any audience, his audience. Okay, and if someone else were to stand in his place, then that would not really be like his audience specifically. Like it would be whoever else filled in for him. Okay, of course you've got the supporting cast, but ultimately if you're talking about who converses with them the most, then it should be him, right? So he kind of suggests that other people will take time off, but like this is my job, this is only for me, this is my audience, and like other people might be sick and take the day off, but that's not me. So that's why we're taking a look, the answer should be D, right? Okay, so for question 4, what is the inference in Paul Murphy's claim that when they do ring, I take every call? So we have been recently referring to the context in the extract, and by all means, if you feel the need to, please do that. But for this specific question, I don't think it's necessary for us to have to look at the extract or the entire sentence. So in this case, I would actually use the method of process of like elimination. Okay, so firstly, for A, he's a really compassionate person. That doesn't really say too much about him because we're looking at him professionally. Okay, a compassionate person, that's a very personal claim, right? This is something that this is an assumption basically on his personal being, right? But we're only looking at him in a professional lens, so we can't say that. B, others are not as sympathetic as he is. Sympathetic or sympathy, right? That means like when you feel bad for someone, okay? Like pity, okay? Right? And perhaps you do this because or you do kind things or good things, not because it's out of genuine kindness, but because you feel like you owe it to that person because their life is hard, right? And in this case, in question 4, we're not talking about that. He's not picking it up because, you know, he feels bad for them. He's doing it because it's his job, okay? That information is based on what we have previously read in the extract, by the way. C, he always does the right thing by the station. Now, in this case, the key word is always, okay? That means we have to branch out and look at other actions that he's done, right? He always does the right thing by the station, right? But when we take a look at this as well, like the right thing to do would be to stop when he needs that break, right? But he doesn't do that. Murphy does not do that. So C is incorrect. Yeah, so he would take a break basically if he needed, if he wouldn't pick up these calls if he needed a break, but he always does that, right? Now for D, other presenters do not take all calls. Now this is the correct answer, okay? Because he's trying to say that, some people, some presenters, they don't always pick up, but I do, okay? I pick up every call because I am that devoted to my job. Now, when we take a look at question 5, what makes Paul Murphy a valued presenter, okay? Here we can take a look at the extract, right? Here. All right. So, I was a Canberra consultant in 1969, okay? I can ring people like the treasurer, okay? He's got connections. He's been presenting since he's been a correspondent since 1969, okay? He can include famous and sought after personalities, okay? He's got all this experience, right? And look, even here, right? You can take a look at how he it puts in stats, and he's so devoted and committed to his job, right? So here we can take a look at his experience, right? Here we can look at his devotion, okay? Now, if we look at question 5, right? He has a pleasant nature. Well, we would have to take a look at his actual series, his performance. We haven't looked at that, therefore we can't deduce that. The fact that he can ring the treasurer personally, okay? It's not just that, like, yes, sure, he has connections, but it's not just that. Now D, he is a good listener. Yes, 100% he is a good listener. At least we can conclude that, right? But that's not necessarily what makes him a valued presenter. It's the fact that he's got so much experience, so many connections. He loves his job. He always turns up, okay? So that's why the answer should be B, okay? His journalistic experience in being devoted, in listening, in caring, etc. Right? Okay. Also like his connections, right? These two these only provide one reason each. All right. Whilst B can refer to basically both of these reasons plus more, right? Which is why the answer. Let's briefly go through the poem for the second extract, right? So it's called, "Do you believe that a child can die in the middle of the Pacific Ocean?" Okay, so please read this extract in your own time, and we'll dive into question 6. So what emotion does the poet set out to arouse in this poem? Okay, so we have A, B, C, and D. One thing I'd like you guys to know is that we kind of have this repetition of die. We also kind of have this die, dies, and we also have dying, dead. Okay. This is not, I hope you guys know, this is not repetition, okay? Repetition is the use of the same word, okay? So this would be repetition, right? Okay. It's not enough. They haven't said it enough to be repetition, but it's close to repetition. Okay, now the tense, right? Dies, dying, and dead. Okay, we've already had 2 die over there. Okay, this is actually what we call a lexical chain. Okay, lexical chain of death. Okay, because they are talking about the verb, like the action of dying, right? But it's scattered around the poem, meaning that this is a theme that they want us to keep considering, okay? But it's something that they don't want it to be all up in our face all the time, like repetition. They don't want it to be incredibly clear. They want us to take a look at the other emotions they're trying to evoke. That is one of the purposes of a lexical chain, okay? To create that main theme or one of those sub themes, right? Whilst not distracting from other topics, okay? So in this case, the action of dying is actually not, it's not seen as something that is relaxing or something that is peaceful, unlike some texts, right? It's seen as something that's quite sad, okay? And it's saddening, right? Because it's, well, firstly, it's about this child, right? The overall tone of this poem is something that's very sentimental, okay? Death is not something that is happy for them, okay? And then additionally, this is also one of those questions where you don't really need to take a look at the entire poem. What impression is created when the poet says the whole ocean surrounding him, okay? We will take a look at it anyway, but his boat in the middle of the ocean, the whole ocean surrounding him, while we have a soft drink, coffee, or beer, okay? Now, if you take a look at the actual image of the whole ocean surrounding him, you'll realize that it's about being alone, okay? No one else is around there with you, okay? You have this feeling of loneliness, right? Which is why we say the answer is C. Unfortunately, we've just run out of time, so I hope this was helpful to you guys, and I really hope that you guys answer the remaining questions by yourself. Please have a go with them, and just note things like vocabulary and tone. And yep, that's it for this week. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.